this looks messy, so keep talking.
How are you?
Oh, it says we're live.
I think we're live.
Hooray! Welcome.
All right, we're live. Yay! Welcome to Coffee with Christy and crew. We're having some technical difficulties, and we're just gonna plow through. So, Steph, Elizabeth, can you guys hear me at this point?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we have a severe delay going on, so I may drop off. So today we're going to talk about winning the day. We're going to talk about morning and evening success routines. We're going to talk about habits and my favorite topic, mindset. So let's start with introductions. We've had a lot of new coaching clients coming into the group. So let's go through introductions first. Elizabeth, you want to start?
I'm Elizabeth Gilbert, Chief Operations Officer at Ron Henderson and Associates in Kansas City, Missouri.
And I'm Stephanie Brackett, Chief Operations Officer, Anderson Hicks in Idaho Falls, Idaho.
And covering the whole United States, I'm Christy Belt-Grossman, CEO of Ops Boss Coaching in the Washington, D.C. area. So let's just plunge right in. We had a great conversation preparing for the call today, and we decided to talk about, let's start with why. Like, why do we need morning and evening routines? Why do we need to work on habits? Why do we need to work on mindset? So I'm going to throw that out there. I want you guys who are listening, if you're listening live today, to join in the comments. And I want to hear your thoughts too. Like, why is a morning success routine important to you? So let's start. Steph, you want to start in with that?
Sure. It kind of puts you on your game. Like, we are creatures of habit. So a morning routine and a stack of habits that you do every morning starts your day off right every single day. It keeps your routine and it keeps your mind. Your mind doesn't like chaos. Your mind actually always is going to gravitate towards calm over chaos. And a routine helps you keep the calm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Set the day and end the day well. Like, I always like to use the analogy because I bowl a lot. And unfortunately, when I bowl, sometimes the ball goes in the gutter, which is not how you win at bowling. And so if you've ever watched little kids bowl, they'll put up the bumpers in the gutters so that when the little kids throw the ball, it won't go in the gutter. And that's kind of what your morning and evening routine is like, that it helps you, right, stay on the lane and keeps you from going where you shouldn't go.
Okay, that was really good because at the last COO Elite Retreat, we went bowling and I was really, really bad. I was the second to the worst person. So, and I had too much pride to put the bumpers up. So I will now be putting the bumpers up.
But you didn't mention, Christy, that at the COO retreat before that, you kicked everybody's butt at ping pong. So
I did.
Yeah,
I'm competitive. I will admit it. That's awesome. Thank you for allowing me to win that moment. You know, for me too, I've really been spending a lot of time in my mind thinking about decision fatigue. And so for me to have a morning routine and to have an evening routine means cutting down on the amount of decisions that I have to make on a daily basis so that I can use my brain power, because I have a limited amount of brain power, to focus on the most important things instead of the simple things. And it allows me to build some small wins kind of before I start my day, so it launches me off on a good path. I always think about, I am not a great athlete, but my husband coaches baseball. And the first thing that they do when they get out to the field is they warm up. Like, they warm up their arms, they stretch out, they do all that. And I think we all often do that in one area, but not the other areas. So maybe we work out in the morning, but we're not warming up our brain, or we're not warming up our spirit. Like, what are all those things? So I think for me, the routine helps me warm up all the way around. So I don't know if anybody, hey, Megan, I want to hear you guys. I hear lots of I'm here's. So tell me why you guys think having these routines and habits are important. And then we're going to move on, as you guys are commenting, to let's start about morning routine. So you guys, this is not a strong area for me. I'm going to be very transparent. I do not get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I want to hear about your morning routines.
Yeah, well, I do get up early, but not necessarily all on my own. I have an accountability partner in my husband. So we get up at 4 a.m., which is ridiculous. Yes, it is, to be at the gym by 4:30. So I have my milestones, right? I know exactly when I need to leave the house. So I know I need to be at the gym by this time. I need to be eating breakfast at this time. I need to be in the shower at this time. And that's what helps me be on time. And I think because I have that routine, it helps me be on time everywhere else in my life too. Because I'm so used to watching the clock and knowing where I have to be when. That really sets me up well for the day. And then, so as I'm eating breakfast, I am reading a book, and then I am journaling. And then after I take my shower and before I leave the house, I'm meditating. So all of that happens, all positive wins for me. It's a very positive experience. So I do ease into the day, except for working out first thing in the morning. That's more like I have to surprise myself with the workout, right? At 4:30 in the morning, when you're like, what's going on? It's like suddenly I'm at the gym and I'm working out, right? So it happens to me. I don't necessarily have to think about it anymore, which is the good part, right? So my body's
awesome.
like, oh.
So was it hard for you to develop that habit, Elizabeth, when you go back to when you first started working out? Like, what was it that connected the dots for you to allow you to really develop that habit?
Well, it's not my alarm going off, it's my husband's. So he is the one that turns the alarm off and gets up out of bed. So that's sort of my accountability too. And then I started to get into the habit of just going, oh, I don't want to go, and just being the crying little whiny baby and not getting out of bed. And so he would just leave me behind. And so I had to get external accountability, and now I have to text my friend by 4:15 every morning, or else I owe her $10. So that means I have to get up, get out of bed, go out to the living room, get my phone, and send her a text by 4:15. That accountability has kept me getting up that early and actually going, because I don't want to pay her $10. And it's not the $10 necessarily, it's the fact that she's going to ask me for $10 and I would feel bad about that. And so, yeah, that's happened twice in the year and a half that we've been doing this. And I almost we're in a routine now. I almost felt like maybe I can just knock that accountability off. I really don't need to do that every morning. And yet I'm still doing it. Like, I think I just need to keep going. And so I do.
Yeah, it's one of those tough habits. You know, the 66-day thing, everybody thinks a habit happens in 66 days because we've heard that statistic so many times, but it's an average of 66 days.
Yes.
So yeah, it might be 366 and 0, whatever. That doesn't mathematically work, but you understand the point. Steph, tell me what your morning routine is.
And I would add, it takes you exactly about 6 minutes to fall out of a habit. If you stop doing it like 6 days, you're done. You're toast. That happened to me last year. It's toast. Yeah. So my morning routine, I plug my phone in the bathroom. Elizabeth puts hers in the living room. So my phone, I have a shutdown routine and a morning routine. So my shutdown routine we'll cover later, but one of the things is to plug my phone in the bathroom before I go to bed. So first thing in the morning, my phone, I have Alexa that wakes me up. I have one in here. She's probably going to say, I don't know what she's
probably eavesdropping.
So I have her set for I don't wake up at exactly the same time every day. It depends on the coaching clients that I have, because I take most of my coaching clients in the morning before I leave. So my alarm goes off depending on the day of the week. I immediately stand up and drink a full glass of water. I leave one on my bedside and I drink a full bottle of water before. That's how I wake up. I drink a full bottle of water. I go in the bathroom and I brush my teeth. Then my day starts. So depending on what coaching client I have, it's generally 10 minutes. I do my prayers, my meditation. Then I am up and going. I'm making my breakfast, getting ready, then get on my coaching calls before I go. I do flip through my email really quick and get my inbox to 0 Usually overnight, it's mostly just junk. There's no action items. I'm just getting rid of any junk and spam email. Then I take my coaching clients, take a shower, I get ready, and I go to work. And then I have a work morning startup routine. Once I hit the office, I do the exact same thing every single morning when I hit the office. So my exercise had to move to the evening because all my coaching calls are East Coast people. And so they're all at like 7 and 7:30 my time.
Thank God that they're not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You'd be on at 1 a.m.
Right.
Now, I will say I like to throw the opposite twist in there. I think we all have to find morning routines that work for us. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want anyone listening to think I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because that's what everybody else is doing. And that's the only thing that works. I had a coaching call with somebody this week, and she said, I tried to do the 5 a.m. club and I was getting up at 5. And what I found is that I was actually working 15 hours a day instead of 12 hours a day, and I was exhausted. And you have to go back to what is it working for you or is it not working for you? So for me, I literally don't, I wake up at 7, but I don't get out of bed until after 8, which everybody's like, what? But I eat dinner at 8 or 9 p.m. at night because my husband coaches baseball. So my work day is skewed much later, and that's just what works for me. So I think you have to find what works for you. What has worked for me in adjusting the time in the morning is to just do it in 15-minute increments. So I had a coaching client this week who said she was going from waking up at 7:30 to now she's waking up at 6, and she's just wiped out. So in my mind, that's too big of an adjustment. So if you're trying to find your morning routine, you might want to just look for the small incremental wins.
Yeah.
For me, one thing that's really important in the morning is my Think Up app. It's Think Up UP, and that's where I do my affirmations. I feel like I need to warm up my mind, my body, my soul, my spirit. So again, in the morning, I'm doing my prayers. I usually read a reflection. I read a scripture reading. I do my social media before I get out of bed, which is crazy, but that's my little time block time where I feel like it's like this luxurious little time. So I would say find what is that thing that gives you energy in the morning and make that part of your routine. It could be reading something. I think Megan just commented actually about she's added reading a business or a personal development book while she's blow drying her hair. So she has 20 minutes of growth in the morning, and that feels really good. So find something that feels good in the morning. I love this. It looks like we have a lot of early risers in the group, so that's awesome. If you guys have questions about morning routines or struggles or wins that you want to share, post them in the comments as well. Anything else we want to talk about mornings?
I think, did we talk about habit stacking on a previous podcast? I don't remember.
I don't remember, but I think we're going to talk about habits today.
Okay, because that's a great way to start your morning. If you already do something in the morning, just stack an additional habit on something that's already a habit for you.
Yeah, so it positions you for success.
Yep,
love that. So let's talk about evening routine, because I'm a big believer. All my coaching clients who are listening know that I always say that today starts yesterday. So what do you do yesterday to prepare for today, and what kind of routine do you guys have?
Mine's very simple. I do at about, and I know this is going to sound hilarious, but I get up at 4 a.m. So my shutdown routine starts at 7 p.m. And I'm tired at about 7 o'clock. Like I just have done it for so long that I start to get actually sleepy at 7 o'clock. So sometime between 7 and 7:30 is when I will start to go to bed. And that involves taking the right, I take magnesium at night because it does help me sleep. And I am much better rested having taken that than I don't. So I take any medications in the evening that I need to take. I do make sure that my water bottle is set up next to my purse so that I can be sure to grab that, because I am notorious for forgetting it. And so I have to put it out the night before. plugging my phone in, and then I actually have to wash my contacts twice. And I know this is hilarious, but if I don't, they get foggy and I can't see because I have gas permeables. So I have to make sure I wash my contacts at night, take off makeup, and then go to bed. And all of that, like I said, it's very simple. And yet I know where everything is in the morning. Like, and I wear like the same 5 or 6 outfits every single week, which makes like decision fatigue so easy. And I know all of that's in my closet because I do laundry on Sunday every like clockwork, right? So I know I have all of my outfits, same 5 outfits. It doesn't matter. It makes my life simple, and I don't care what anyone else thinks.
I thought I saw that sweater before, Elizabeth.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. It'll probably be back next week. So yeah. Simple,
But you know what? We're all laughing. I literally had this conversation with a coaching client this week and last week, the same thing. Like, what are those areas where you can remove decision fatigue? Is it meal planning? Is it planning what's going to be you're going to take to lunch? Like, there's a reason why Gary Keller wears black every day. Right? Or wears a lab shirt every day. It's super easy. I have a uniform in the winter. I have black leggings and I have over the knee boots and combat boots. So that bottom half is the same, all, 7 different pairs of leggings and whatever. It just makes life simpler.
Yeah.
I am not simple. I kid you not. I probably own 75 cardigan sweaters. And probably 20 of them are black, in all honesty.
That's awesome.
I wear a cardigan almost every day, but it's a different cardigan. So.
But are you laying your clothes out the night before?
No, I walk into the closet. I pick a black shirt to go underneath. This one's striped. I'm like really living on the edge today. I have a striped one underneath and a cardigan. That's awesome. And I wear black slacks. I have 17 pairs of black slacks every day. So there's no decision fatigue from the waist down.
Except when you come to the Oxboss retreat and forget your pants.
Right. And it's so easy to go by because I just went and bought 4 more pair of black pants. I mean, there was no
what
decision.
Is your evening routine? What is your shutdown?
My shutdown, I get home from work, I make dinner. We're both dieting. So we make dinner every single night. I have not eaten out in a month. So I make dinner. We sit and we eat dinner at the table together. We don't eat in front of the TV. We sit at the table, we eat dinner. We've got Fox News on in the background, so we're catching up on whatever happened during the day. We're having a conversation. We do the dishes. I do the dishes immediately after dinner. They never sit. We do the dishes, and then we decide, are we going to watch a movie? Do we want to watch TV? Do we want to play a game? We'll do something together. It's just my husband and myself and our cats. Then at 9 o'clock is when I'm like, I'm done for the night. So we go up to bed. I plug my phone into the bathroom. I brush my teeth. I drink water, take all my evening vitamins that I take right before. I usually read for about 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. He catches up on phone stuff like social media for 10 or 15 minutes. And then it's lights out and we are in bed.
So there's a couple of comments in here I want to address, which I think are really good because I don't think any of the 3 of us have kids at home, right? So we're in a different situation. So somebody, Jen brought up a really good comment about it's hard because you have to get up before your kids, so you can get quiet time, but then they wake up early. So we've, Steph, you and I have dealt with that at home with having kids before. Yep. One suggestion I would say is this depends on how old your kids are. Obviously, if they're like, 6 months and 18 months, this isn't going to work. Yep. But as they move into that 5-6-year-old age and all the way up through high school, get buy-in from them. Ask them to participate in a morning routine and ask them to participate in a shutdown routine at night. Not only will it help you, it's going to help them learn how to model this behavior, which will be really awesome for them. Steph, do you have any, or Elizabeth, either one of you have any other tips for like how to handle the kid thing?
My kids were actually really, really good, and we did kind of maintain a routine. So like when I needed my quiet time, it was just like, hey, you guys, I need 15 minutes. Can you go get your favorite book and read your book and we'll be good. I mean, they were very self-sufficient. Can you go make yourself breakfast? Like they'd go make Pop-Tarts and cheese or whatever they were having for breakfast.
Pop-Tarts and cheese, that's good. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about the next thing, I can't remember what's on the list. Oh, before we go on, I wanted to say, those of you who have been in the Be a Boss class know that in the MREA book, we talk about Gary Keller's energy plan. So I think as you're putting together your morning routine, if you think about the energy plan, which is 5 things: meditate and pray, exercise and eat, hug, kiss, and laugh, plan and calendar, and lead generate. I like to try to do all of those things by 11 a.m. every morning. And those are the things that give you spiritual energy, physical energy, business energy, mental energy, emotional energy. So the more energy you can put into your day, that's another reason why to have a morning routine, is it energizes you to give you the energy to last and sustain through the rest of the day. So I wanted to just throw that in there before we moved on. So habits. Let's talk about habits, because you hear that word a lot, habits. What are the habits of a successful ops boss? And I want you guys to post in the comments here. I think this is probably the heart of the conversation here. We've already talked about a couple of habits, which is a morning routine and an evening routine. Elizabeth and Steph, what are the things that come to mind when I say habits of a successful ops boss? What comes to mind for you guys?
One of my major ones is maintaining my calendar. I think whenever I have something very important that I need to do, and it's not just a course of my regular day, like I don't put check email on my calendar, because I just know that's a pebble for me that's gonna fill in the cracks. What I strategically and as a habit put on my calendar is things that I know I'm gonna forget if it's not on the calendar. And if it's important to my lead agent, I make sure that goes on my calendar so that he sees my calendar too. So if he's ever curious as to what I'm doing during the day or what I'm working on, he can go check my calendar. And if he was ever curious, hey, did that thing actually get, like, was she aware of that? Did she plan for that? He can see that on my calendar too. So it's an accountability tool, but it's also the fact that I check it often so that I am always on track to win the day, knowing that I got things done that I really needed to get done.
And then for me, like, I do have check my email on my calendar. Like, I have a business morning startup routine. So I have my home morning startup routine, and then I have a totally separate business morning startup routine that I do every single day when I hit the office, where 8:30 we do our stand-up meeting, which is Winning Minute. That's 45 minutes. Then we have 15 minutes of script practice. 9 o'clock, I get my inbox to 0, check my calendar again, make sure everything, because usually in the morning when I'm quick checking my email and I pick up my phone, I check my calendar. Okay, what does my day look like? What does the landscape of my day look like today? I check my calendar again, make sure nothing changed. I didn't get invited to something. Sean and I generally work on projects together in the morning. So oftentimes when he's emptying his one box, he's moved a couple things around. So I have to recheck my calendar to make sure. Inbox to 0, completely empty before I start my day, and then I go straight into my one thing, and that's my morning routine. Those are my habits. That is now a habit. I don't have to think about it. That is what I do all day, every single morning. And then I have a business shutdown day. So at the end of the day, I check my inbox, I check my tasks and brevity. Everything has to be zeroed out. I check my to-doist list to make sure I got all my to-doist stuff done. I look at my calendar for the next day to make sure, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow? So those are once I've done that for so long, those have been my morning and evening business shutdown routines for 8 years, that they are definitely habits.
I think as you went through that, the thing that jumped out at me was your focus on your one thing time. And I think the discipline and the clarity of knowing what that is every single day gives you so much energy during the day. It gives you so much, you become effective versus being just efficient.
Yeah.
Like, we can be efficient and check all the boxes off that we've done everything, but are we doing the right things? And I think that's an area that I see people struggling in, following a calendar, following a to-do list, following a routine, but they're not getting the right things done. So yeah. I love that you're really clear on your my one thing time. I would say that time blocking is another habit that is underrated. And I think I see people struggling with that across the board. For me, it's imperative to have my time blocked to work not just in the business, but on the business. And I know, I'm pretty sure you guys do time blocking as well, yes?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So I had a question from somebody today on time blocking. How much of your time is time blocked? Is your whole entire calendar blocked? Is it only your one thing that's blocked? Like, what do you have blocked on your calendar?
Mine is 75% blocked. I have 25% white space on my calendar. So I time block inbox to 0. Generally it's 3, sometimes 4 times a day. Some days I don't have enough time to do it 4 times. So, and that is a 15-minute activity, inbox to 0. Then I always have my one thing time blocked on there. I have all my team meetings and calendar events on there. And then I have Todoist time blocked. That's the time where I go and work on everything else. Everything that got thrown at me during the day, every email that came in, every commitment I have to fulfill that didn't take 2 minutes or less goes into Todoist. And then I time block for time to go work on my lists of stuff. So those are the major things. All my coaching calls are obviously time blocked.
Right. What does yours look like, Elizabeth?
I would say probably 50% of my calendar is blocked. And the big rocks is what I block. So my meetings with my individual agents, meeting with my admin staff, meetings with my lead agent are all big rocks for me, because it's, for me, a lot more relationship building, culture building is all involved in that. And so that's a big rock for me. So I make sure I have all of those scheduled, and then project-based. So if I'm working on building out our review system, then I have time for that blocked. If I'm building out, how we're going to start responding to referrals, I'm putting that time on my calendar. So about 50% is blocked. What do I do with the other 50%? It's all based on what do I need to catch up on. So it could be checking email, ordering business cards for someone, hey, have you got a minute? Like, I have room built in specifically. And again, the white spaces are in case a big rock needs to be moved. I have space to move it to. It's not replacing something else, or I'm not chucking something completely. And this happens a lot. Like, I feel like I'm way more flexible when I have that white space on my calendar to move blocks into. So if a meeting with my lead agent, I have, an hour blocked, and we end up being extra chatty that day and going an hour and a half, I can move whatever was after that into a white space.
Love that. So we had a couple people comment about who are struggling with time blocking. What is your advice for people who want to take that first step towards time blocking? What would you say?
Get your one thing time blocked. That's the most important thing on my calendar. Get it blocked and stick to that, even if it's just 1 hour a day. Mine is 2 hours. Mine's from 9 to 11, Monday through Friday. I mean, that is my 20%. And generally, I'm working in that 20% on a major project for our company that's moving the company forward.
So let's dial back to, I'm the only admin on the team. And what would your first step be? Would it be
what's the most
different?
important thing you can do? Yeah. The most important thing you could do to move your company forward. What is that? And figure out, ask yourself, what is your one thing? If your one thing is getting your agent organized, then spend 2 hours figuring out a system to keep your agent organized. If your one thing is figuring out how to drive business, then spend your 2 hours figuring out, how can I market differently? How can I get listings through command out there to get more business? Whatever it is, pick your one thing, whatever it is that's going to move your, ask your mega, what's one thing I could do for you that would make your life easier?
So I guess the question I would ask to those of you who are struggling too is the struggle with you, or is the struggle with your agents and your team? Is the struggle a boundary that's being crossed? Mm-hmm. And have you asked your agent for the buy-in? Have you had the conversation about it? I actually, when I'm coaching, will have my clients start at 1 hour a day, because to go from 0 to 2 hours a day, is often a struggle for the team to respect.
Yeah.
And if you're the only admin on the team and you're doing transaction coordination and listing coordination, what you may want to do is start with an hour a day and then move to an hour every morning and an hour every afternoon instead of 2 hours at one time, just to kind of ease the team into that. Now, ideally, they're doing lead generation in the morning, so you can make your 2 hours during that time. But I know reality is it doesn't always end up that way.
That's really good advice. The hour that you time block or the 2 hours that you time block, making it sacred, you do need to know that you have time to think or time to figure stuff out. Like, that's the hard part of our job, is the creation, the thinking about it, the how am I going to do it, the thought process that goes into it. Once it's created, the execution is the easy part. The following the checklist is the easy part. That doesn't require thought, it just requires doing. And you can almost do that anytime, which is why that's great for later in the day when you're starting to wind down and be like, it's been a tough day. I just have to get these few more things done and I'm out of here. You don't want to be thinking that late in the day when you've already had, client issues or agent issues that you've settled earlier in the day. And now you need to, be nice to a client on the phone last minute. Like, you want to get all that thinking stuff and the decision-making out of the way up front earlier in your day before you get bombarded by all the rest of that.
Right. And like I said the other day when we were talking, like, our brain is trained to constantly think about problems. Like, you could sit there and think of 90 million different things you need to get done right. All these problems. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to revamp this, right? Our brain naturally thinks about problems all the time. But most of the time when you're thinking about problems, you can't do anything about them right then. So you have to train your brain, or thinking of problems. You have to train your brain to think about the problem. And the way you train it to think about the problem is you ask two very specific questions. This thing that's in my head that's rolling around, what's the intended outcome? Like, what does that look like? And then what's my very next physical action to get me closer to that intended outcome? And that's David Allen in Getting Things Done all the way. So if you can train your brain, that's the one thing time when you need to spend time thinking about the problem. Like, I have this problem, we don't have enough reviews. What's the intended outcome of that? We need to figure out a system to get more reviews. Okay, perfect. How do I do that? What's my very next action? So give yourself time in your calendar to think about problems, because that's when you solve them.
Yeah, and so I would say that's another habit of a successful ops boss, is that they have, I call it white space time, thinking time, business planning time. Do you have that in your calendar? I think for a lot of people, it ends up being by default. It's the thing, if I get to it, I'll get to it, and I'll keep pushing it aside because it doesn't feel like it has a tangible result. The way typing, adding 200 names to the database is so tangible, or creating a checklist is tangible. It doesn't feel like it, but you're going to get better results when you have white space blocked into your calendar. For me, that is, and I would say don't make that, just like you said, don't make that at the end of your day. I like doing that mid-afternoon for the following day, or mid-afternoon on Friday for the following week. How do you guys have white space, planning time? What does that look like in your calendar?
I have a weekly review on Friday afternoons, and that's my work week shutdown. And there is thinking time built into that. So I go through I scan all my lists. Okay, this is everything that's in my world that needs my attention. I look back through my calendar, seeing if it triggers anything. Oh crap, I forgot to do that. I was supposed to do this and I didn't do it. And then I look at my goals. I look at my 411. What can I do to be better next week at my 411? I mean, my 411's on my screen all day long. It's one of the Excel spreadsheets that's open. So it's always there, but it's a time to really say, okay, now I'm going to look at my next week's 411. What do I have to do different next week than I did this week to meet my goals? Like, it's just a weekly review. I look at everything.
So for those of you who are listening, because I know we have people from all different brokerages around the country in this group, a 411 is just a version of a goal planning worksheet that many of us use that has our annual goals, our monthly goals, and our weekly big rocks. So I think that's a habit of a successful ops boss, is to have your goals front and center. I look at mine every morning and every evening. And like you, I have my 135, which is another goal planning type worksheet for those of you that don't know. It's floor to ceiling in my office. So those goals are forefront. I think the mistake we make sometimes, where it's not a habit, is we write out all these goals and then we don't look at them until maybe right before your coaching call. You get your 411 together to send to your coach, or right before your accountability meeting with your agent. So I think looking at goals on a daily basis is a habit of a successful ops boss. I would throw out there too, another habit that I think, and I think somebody actually already mentioned this, is reading and learning, right? I think Megan said that, I can't remember. Somebody said, leaders are readers, right? So what does that habit look like for you guys in terms of reading and learning? And I'd love to hear you guys who are listening, post your comments in the box about reading and learning.
I love reading. Like that's my me time.
Your jam.
What day are we on? Are we on the 15th?
Yeah.
The month? Well, you can see my board up there. Those are my books I've read so far this year. So I've already finished 3 and we're on the 15th, and I have 2 sitting on my desk.
Okay, what are the 3 that you already read?
12 Rules for Life, Building a Story Brand, that's right here because I just finished it, and Never Split the Difference. And now my next one is The Ultimate Blueprint for an Insanely Successful Business.
Nice.
That last one that you mentioned, say that one again.
The Ultimate Blueprint for an Insanely
Successful Business has been mentioned more, I think, than any other book on our leadership, the Leader Equation podcast.
It's the same guy who wrote
Atomic Habits.
It's the same guy who wrote The Road Less Stupid, which is literally my favorite book.
That is a really good book.
Yeah. So
when are you reading? How do you fit the reading habit into your life?
All the time. If I have white space at work, I'll read for 30 minutes and I don't have anything pressing. I'm like, you know what? I just need to calm down and I need to read 20 pages in a book. I listen on my way to and from work to books. We took a road trip this weekend to Boise because I was doing an admin event in Boise, and I listened to an entire book on the way to Boise. Those are usually fun ones on the way to and from Boise, like our fun books. They're not business books, because if Dave's driving and I put on a business book, he's like, so he'll fall asleep. So we listen to fun books or something that we both like. But yeah. Anytime I can find to read, I read.
Yeah, I do the same as Stephanie. Anytime I can find to read, I'm reading. My mom was a big reader growing up, and we would go to the library every single week, and I would just come home with an armful of books and read them all in the week, and then take them all back and start all over. And it's like the best part, a great habit that I got from my mom. So every morning I do read a business book. I have about an hour before I have to be at the office from the time I finish breakfast. Because I get up so dang early, my husband has to be at work an hour earlier than I do, which is why we get up so early. Otherwise, I would never freaking do it. And so I now, I used to go back to bed. I've changed my diet a little bit, and that has helped me stay awake and be more alert in the morning, because I used to go to the gym and then go right back to bed because I was just exhausted. And so having changed my diet up a little bit, I have more energy. So now I commit that to reading, journaling, and doing meditation. So I'll read business books in the morning. I do try to, in the evening, get about 10 to 15 minutes of a fiction book. I do think I had gotten away from fiction books, and that was a mistake. Fiction stimulates the creative parts of the mind and lets you think in the abstract, which I think helps you create concrete things in your real world. So I will do that. And then on the weekends, like, I just read as much as I can, probably 2 to 3 hours Saturday, 2 to 3 hours on Sunday. Like, I really just become
such the outsider. It's so funny. I listened to that, and you guys tell me in the comments or give me some hearts on the on our Facebook Live here. But am I the only one that struggles with reading? Because I struggle. I grew up with the armful of books. I literally worked at a library for 2.5 years. My first job in high school was working at a library, and I love to read. And my attention span is not the same as it was. And so I read a lot, but I read blog posts, and I read Harvard Business Review, and I read, Inc. magazine. Like, I read a lot of articles, and I'll read white papers, like all of that kind of stuff. But to sit and read a book, now for me, I like podcasts. So when I do my walking and I'm outside, I can just listen.
That's what I do when I work out, is listen to podcasts. When I drive, I listen to podcasts. That works well. For whatever reason, I don't like books on Audible. It's not that I don't like being read to, I do, and which is why I like the podcast. I like the stimulating conversation. But when I read a book, I like to have a conversation with the author, and that takes the form of me underlining things, me writing questions in the margins, me journaling about something. I'll write down a quote from the book and then journal about how that applies to me or our business or life. So that's why I take 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday to sit down and do that, because it's not just reading the whole time. It's me interacting and making decisions about how I'm going to apply what I'm reading.
So I think that's the next habit I would say, is we hear all the time, leaders are readers. And we know that reading, studying, learning, going to classes, whatever those things are, listening to podcasts, are going to help us grow. I think a habit of a successful ops boss is actually implementing and acting upon what you have read or learned, so that we're not just in learning mode, we're actually in growth mode. So how do you guys make sure, Steph, you're reading and digesting a bazillion books a year. How does it look? What is the habit that is around the actual taking action from that?
You're gonna laugh. You guys are all gonna laugh at me, and it's okay, because I'm a freaking nerd. Okay, I'm a nerd. So this is a true story. We read the book Never Split the Difference. Sean and Chris read it a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "You need to read this book." So I read the book. And I don't know if you know the premise of it. He was a hostage negotiator for like foreign country hostage. Amazing book, great, lots of good stuff. Well, he said, I'm going to give you an email that you will absolutely get a 100% response rate if you send this email. And the email was, it seems you've given up on blank. So if you're trying to get someone to respond to you, it seems you've given up on. I literally grabbed my phone the second I read that, opened up Todoist, and put, change the last text in our 10 days of pain for our buyers and sellers that we're trying to contact through our 10 days of pain lead gen system, to, instead of what we had it as, it seems you've given up on the dream of home ownership. And literally people are texting back that would never respond to us. We had an agent leave the team about 3 months ago, and she had a client that owed our contractor $2,000. And I was texting her and emailing her and calling her. She wouldn't answer. Sean was, Chris was, everybody's trying to get a hold of this agent because this buyer owed our contractor $2,000. So Sean's like, you know what? Hold on. It seems you've given up on resolving this issue with the $2,000. His phone rang in 2 minutes. She called him. So that's how I do it. I put it in Todoist, like whatever hits me like an action item, I put it in Todoist. And then when I came back to the office, that's the first thing I did on Monday when I started on my Todoist list, was go change our templates.
I love that. So I would challenge all of you who are doing all the reading to the action step of it. Don't pick up your next book until you've taken action from this book, assuming it was a great book and it had great ideas. Yeah. But if it's not, hopefully you didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll put them down if they're not. If I don't
I do the same thing when I go to a class. So if I'm sitting in a class, I have a rule that I cannot walk out of the class until I have scheduled one action item onto my to-do list to take action as a result of something I've learned. So anything else we want to add around that?
Read books. They're really good.
I would add, just as a last thing, and you guys are still I know you guys posted in the comments some of your habits. What are the other habits that you feel are super important to your success? I would say that the habit of listening and learning how to be a good listener is a really important habit, especially for us as ops bosses who are leaders on our team. So for me, that's been really powerful. And then the other habit that I had to develop to be successful, because it doesn't come naturally to me, is the habit of positivity. And I know all of you always say to me like, oh, you're always so positive and blah, blah, blah. That is literally a habit, a place where I had to go from E to P. So I start my mind in the morning with positivity. It's why I read scripture. It's why I connect with friends. And that helps me. So I don't know if you guys have other habits that are a little more on that intangible side that you think help you be successful.
A habit of compassion, because I am not naturally a compassionate person, and I've had to grow into that role. Like someone would text me and say I'm sick. I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you in 20 minutes. I got some NyQuil for you. But you can work, you're sick, I get it. Because I would come, and I was not compassionate. And, you know, in their mind, they're like, I'm literally in my bed dying. Just because you come to work like that doesn't mean I come to work like that. So I've had to work on being compassionate, and it's a habit. You know, I have to actually, I am so sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better. It's not a natural thing to me. So like positivity isn't natural to you. Compassion is not natural to me.
I have some small ones like that too. Not small, but it seems small in the moment, but it has a wider effect. One of them is changing the word but to and.
Yep.
Because I would say but a lot, and that negativity. So I started doing that, and my husband picked up on it, and now he does it too, which I think is awesome. And then asking more questions when I would have told someone to do something is extraordinarily helpful when I have new agents or new staff that I'm training, and they come to me and say, you know, how do I handle this? Just the question, well, what do you think you should do? What do you think you should do? Is extraordinarily helpful for me, because they often have the right answer, and I would spend way too long explaining to them what they should do step by step. When they already knew to do that, they just wanted me to confirm it. And so getting them to say it first had to become a habit for me. And asking the question when I would rather tell them to do something has been extraordinarily helpful for me.
Love that.
And probably my other habit it's become my superpower, and it wasn't a habit before, was capturing everything that comes into my world that I have action associated with. I don't walk into a meeting or a conversation with anyone without a pen and a piece of paper. Because if they say, hey, can you do this? I immediately capture it. I don't ever not capture. That's probably my superpower now. And a lot of times I used to rely on my memory a lot, because I'm smart. I can remember stuff, right? Yeah, you can't remember everything.
Well, I'd say your superpower is capture and transfer, because a lot of people capture things on a little bunch of pieces of paper that never go anywhere.
Yeah.
So yours actually get transferred into a system.
Yep.
I think the other kind of another intangible habit that I think it's important to develop is the habit of flexibility. And I have a couple of coaching clients that are kind of working on that. I think for a lot of ops-minded people, we're very structured, we're very organized, we know how everything should go, and we need to work on the flexibility to be able to change direction, the flexibility to respond when we need to respond, not when we plan to respond, things like that. So we could name 100 million habits. I think those habits can be different for everybody. But after you've identified what the habits are that you want to develop, how do you develop those habits? Like what has worked for you? What doesn't work for you? Where have you been successful? Where have you been challenged? I want you guys to comment in the box too. Like, what habits are you guys working on? It's a brand new year. I know a lot of people, we did our 66-day challenge for Ops Boss. We did the Ops Boss 66 day, which ended on January 1st. And I think we only had 3 people complete it, me and 2 other people. So I know you guys are having some challenges with 66 days. What are your challenges and what are your successes? You guys want to comment about that? Like how you're working on it?
I can lean into that one. My whole thing with the 66-day challenge is that I have to remember to mark off the box every day. And for whatever reason, I cannot remember to do that. And again, I think it's, for me, if you go read The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, I learned a lot about myself through that. And I'm an obliger, which means if I'm going to do something for myself, I will almost never do it, because I don't care if I disappoint myself. It's not a big deal. But if I make a promise to someone else, it means I'll fulfill it. And so maybe I should just promise someone that I'm going to do a 66-day challenge and then actually do it. But what I have found is that when I am obliged to someone else, I've told someone else I'm going to do something, I will do it. So for me, I wanted to start drinking more water. And I knew that I had to make a promise to someone that I was going to drink more water, who would check up on me on a weekly basis. And that's how I've implemented that habit. So I said, I'm going to drink 60 ounces. I have a 20-ounce water bottle. I fill it up 3 times a day, and I get my 60 ounces. I have been way more consistent with that now that I have someone checking on me once a week than I did when I was just trying to do it on my own. So now I know anything that I want to implement on a regular or consistent basis, I have to promise someone else that I'm going to do it and ask them to check on me. The 4 times a week, I text my friend at 4 a.m. or the once a week that I tell my accountability partner, I'm going to drink my 60 ounces of water, check up on me again next week, because I feel incredibly guilty if I let someone else down. Like,
and so $10 a day that you have to pay somebody if you're not up at whatever time you get up.
By 4:15. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like the flip side of that. That's interesting. So I think the key point is identifying what it is that motivates you or what drives you.
Absolutely.
I put it on my to-do list in Brivity, and I make it a recurring task, and I can't check it off until it's done. And it drives me nuts to not be able to check something off. So that's what motivates me, as crazy as that sounds. That's just how my mind is.
Yep.
And then when I get the streak going, I'm super, super competitive. So I don't want to let the streak go, because I like to compete with myself. But we're all different in that. Yep. So you have to figure out what motivates you.
Yep. And I use like I can't remember if it was Atomic Habits. It's one of the habits books I've read. I probably read like 90 of them, but the habit stacking comes from that. So stack habits. And then the one, make it easy, make it visible, right? So for those of you who don't know, I signed up with Lindsay Soprani's nutritional coach. I'm trying to lose 100 pounds this year. And part of it is all these friggin' supplements I have to take, right? I have to take all these different vitamins. Well, one of the tricks is make it visible.
Oh my gosh.
I hate a messy desk, but they're sitting here and they all say on the lid how often I have to take them, when I got to take them, and they're just sitting right here. I hate a messy desk, but if they're not there, I will forget to take those. So I have to make it visible. So my water in the morning, when I go to bed at night, I set my water bottle next to my nightstand. So the minute I wake up in the morning, I grab my water bottle and drink the whole bottle of water.
And
go ahead, Elizabeth.
Comes from the book Triggers too. Like, if you need to set something up to trigger you to do the good thing that you need to do, then you should do it. I have Post-its all over my desk too, and I hate a messy desk too. So there's only 2 Post-its at the moment, and yet that's what works for me. I see it, I know that's the one thing or 2 that I need to focus on. So it stays up until it becomes a habit and I don't have to think about it anymore. And then it gets replaced with something else.
I love that, the triggers. Elizabeth, I wrote down halo effect, and I don't remember what that was or what we talked about with that.
Yeah, so the halo effect is when you implement something good. So, okay, losing 100 pounds, there's a million things that goes into losing weight. We all know that you have to, exercise contributes to that, what you eat contributes to that, what supplements you take contributes to that, how much you're sleeping, how much water you're drinking, all of that. And we try to do everything all at once, which means we do nothing. Because we get completely overwhelmed and then go, screw it, I'm done with this. Well, what's the smallest thing that you can do? For me, it's water. So I have been able to, and someone said, instead of lose pounds, release pounds. I've released 10 pounds in the last 8 weeks. Part of that, and the only thing that I really committed to my coach was drinking water. Like she doesn't say, okay, have you tracked your food? Are you eating more vegetables? Are you eating more protein? Are you cutting down on your sugar? We don't have that conversation at all. The first question is, did you get your water like you said you were going to get? Yes. That's the halo effect. Because I'm drinking more water and I'm not really paying attention to how much more protein I'm eating or how much less sugar I'm eating, those things are happening naturally as a byproduct of drinking more water. Those things became easier because I feel like I'm doing something good for myself in drinking the water, that everything else naturally goes, whoa, right? And the clouds part, the sun shines down, and you get this halo effect of everything around that improves along with it. And it is like magic.
Yeah, I think you can apply that in so many areas. So we were talking about the struggle with time blocking earlier.
Yep.
That's an exact, start with that really small amount of time and it will magnify naturally.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love the visual thing too. I have had over time a couple of different coaching clients working on different intangible habits. So it's hard to measure, for example, if I want the habit of flexibility or I want the habit of showing compassion, how do I measure that? And it often will start with awareness and learning how to catch yourself in the moment before the behavior, the bad habit happens, and turning it into a good habit. So I have them just buy a glass jar and then buy gumballs or ping pong balls or something that has color. And every time you catch yourself in the positive awareness and positively being flexible or being compassionate, put something in the jar and see if you can build the jar up and full of the ping pong balls. It's just kind of a nice visual for that. Yeah, and I think we saw that when you choose too many habits to work on at one time, you sabotage. And I think that's what happened in our 66-day challenge. People were choosing, I'm going to work on this personal habit, this business habit, this spiritual habit.
Yep.
Just choose one and build from there.
Yes.
So let's talk about mindset. So creating a mindset to facilitate our success. What do you guys do to work on your mindset? Is that a habit? And what does it look like for you?
Can be.
I usually use the life coach school thing. If I'm having a result I don't like, I back it all the way up to what is my thought?
Yep.
What's my thought about this? Why is this result this way? And what are the activities that are causing that? What are the feelings that are causing that? And what is my thought? And it always starts with thoughts. If I have a bad result, it's because I'm having bad thoughts, period.
So that sounds really, really simple. And I want to walk through, let's walk through a real example of that.
Okay.
Like you're having bad results in what area and how do I back through to the thought?
Okay. So we could go back to my weight loss. I gained 60 pounds. That was a result I did not want. Okay. That was where I was at. The result was I was overweight again. Okay. The actions that were leading to that was I was not exercising. I was not eating right. I was like, those two things. I wasn't exercising and I wasn't eating right. Okay. So what were the emotions surrounding those actions? The emotions were, I was angry. I was, didn't care. I was like, you know what? I don't care. It's like the least important thing in my life right now. I don't care. Like I felt like a failure because I had gained all this weight back that I had worked so hard on losing. Those were the emotions that I was feeling around the result. Mm-hmm. And the thoughts I was having was, it doesn't matter. It's hard. Maybe you're just meant to be fat. Maybe your body doesn't like food. And that's just the way it's going to be. And those were my thoughts.
So how do you change?
So in order to get a different result, now I go back to the thoughts and you start with the thoughts. And now my thoughts around it are, I need help to do this. I need to hire a coach that can walk me through it. I can do it. I'm a super, super smart person. I can do anything in this whole wide world. Why can't I lose the weight? I can. I'm smart enough to figure this out. And I need someone to help me do it. Those were my thoughts. And I'm going to go get someone to help me do it. So then my emotions around that became positive. Great. I can do this. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know I can make this happen. Then my activities now became, okay, I need to follow this meal plan. I mean, I've been doing it for 4 weeks straight now and I haven't cheated once. It's been really easy for me to do because I've changed my thoughts about the whole
that's the
thing.
step we often miss. We often go result. Okay, I know the actions, so I'm just going to go right to changing the actions, and we don't dive back to the emotions and the thoughts.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
So what kind of habits do you guys have around creating mindset on a daily basis? And I'd love to hear you guys comment who are listening. What are you guys doing to create the habit of the mindset you need to be successful?
For me, journaling has always been my go-to. I think that those negative thoughts do, for me, build up in my head, and then they start playing on repeat. And then the emotions that come with those negative thoughts are negative feelings. And then I just end up being a biatch all day. Like, it's just, it comes out, right? It has to come out somehow. And that turns into being nasty and ugly to other people. And so for me, letting those thoughts out in the morning, if I'm having negative thoughts, and seeing them on paper and going, wow, that's really negative. What's a better thought? Not necessarily what's a really good, positive, joyous thought, like the complete opposite, because sometimes it's hard to go from, this agent's really ticking me off. Why can't he do what he's supposed to do? I just want to strangle him, to, you know what, he's an amazing agent. I love him. I love everything about him. I can't wait to see him today. It's hard to get there, right? So for me, concentrating on what's a better thought. He is a person. He is, he has kids, and kids can be tough. So he's going to be at the office today. Like, way more neutral thoughts. So going from negative to positive is hard, but going from negative to neutral is a lot easier. And allowing the journaling to come out and analyzing my thoughts, because I never stop to think, is that thought helping me, or is that thought hurting me? That's the mindset loop that I have to be able to see it in order to actually do something about it.
So when you're journaling, I get this question a lot from people. You're just journaling your thoughts. You're not using prompts or anything like that. I think a lot of people struggle with, okay, well, what do I even journal about?
Yeah, I'm constantly thinking. It is a nonstop chatterbox in my head. I just write that down. And even if I don't know what to write, I will write the sentence, I don't know what to write, until I start thinking about things to write about.
How long have you been journaling?
That doesn't happen often. For a long time. Like, I unfortunately, I sometimes, like Stephanie said, if you don't make it a habit, you can fall out of a habit in 6 minutes. And so I've had periods where I will quit journaling for a while for whatever reason, and fall out of the habit, and I feel it. Like, my energy goes down, my attitude goes down, and I'll even start to go, what is wrong with me? Like, is something, my hormones off? Is like something weird going on with me? Am I depressed? No, it's because I quit journaling.
That's awesome. Steph, what kind of mindset habits do you have?
I have a couple. One of them is expressing gratitude every single day. We do it every single morning in our winning minute, and it's my favorite part of the day. I mean, if you can't be angry and grateful at the same time, you just can't. Yep. So every day, and we go around a room, there's 36 of us standing in the hallway. So you're thinking the entire time that everybody else is expressing your gratitude about their gratitude, what you're thankful for. And like this morning, I'm super thankful for a husband who got up and shoveled snow even on leg day. Like it's leg day at the gym and he's like, I need all my energy for leg day and I got to go shovel snow. And it was wonderful. I walked out and my water bottle's in my car's warm. He started it for me. I'm just super grateful for my husband. So that's one thing, is to just make sure you're expressing gratitude every single
And that's something you can journal if you're looking for something to journal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I did that after I had my shoulder surgery. I had to really work on my positivity and I struggled. So I had to every single morning on my calendar write 3 things I was grateful for with no repeats.
Yeah.
Because it really pushed me to think, because you get to the certain end of the list and you're not, okay, I'm grateful for my husband, I'm grateful for my daughters, I'm grateful for my warm house, all those things. And then it really pushes you to go to a deeper level, to be grateful for struggles, to be grateful for challenges, all of those things. Grateful for the agent that you're struggling with because he's making you a better person, whatever those things are.
And then my second little habit is just always asking myself or saying to myself when something happens that I don't like or that I feel is bad or negative, I always in my head say, this is good because, and then I figure out what good came out of that. I know never to do that again, or I need to be more clear when explaining things, or I need to acknowledge people more because they think I'm ignoring them. Whatever. This is good because, and then figure out how to end that sentence.
This is good because. So one of my habits is actually probably something that you guys see every single day and don't know that it's one of my habits to create my habit of positivity, which is all of our social media posts for Ops Boss. I try to post something every single morning before I get out of bed. And that's part of my reading in the morning, usually something that comes from that. And it just helps refocus me on positivity to, just great way to start the day. Vision boards and our one thing video. If you don't know what the one thing video is, you can look back in the files. I think Steph and I have ours posted in there. Those are also great ways to create your mindset in the morning. Anything else? We could probably talk about this for hours. I want to, before we get off the call, let you guys know that we're working on some new locations for classes this year. And we're getting, I think we're about 75% of the way there in booking our classes. So if you're listening and you want one of our Be a Boss classes, we have the new one coming out this year that Steph's going to be teaching. Systems are sexy and it's fab. Super excited about that. But we have 5 more tickets remaining for McLean, Virginia, which is in the DC area. I will be in Atlanta, Rochester, New York, Bethany Beach, Delaware, Wilmington, North Carolina, Overland Park, Kansas, so I can see Elizabeth. Steph's going to be in Las Vegas, Greenville, South Carolina, Denver. She's also going to teach in my office in McLean the day before the Ops Boss Leader Retreat, which is really super cool. And then we're also close to booking in Philadelphia, Santa Fe, and Michigan, and Southern Indiana, Kentucky area. So if we did not say your area and you want us to be there, let us know. And we'll post a poll in the comments soon to ask you what you want on the next Coffee with Christy. Don't feel like you have to vote on one of the ones we put out there. If you have ideas, throw them in there and feel free to just post them in the box here and I'll capture them there. Is there anything else that we should say today before we sign off? I hope you guys have a great bossy week and we'll see you next time for Coffee with Christy.
Yay!
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah.